welcome to our week 2 online class because for this week as well as week 6 and 7 we have a holiday Monday, which means that you get to do a video online instead. So what I'd like to do today is I'd like to start by taking a look in your textbooks. So I chose this Shakespeare quote because for some of you, you already know about how English style names work. But for those who don't, we should run through this, and it's good practice anyways. So the point about names in English and Korean is they are the same, but how we present them is a little bit different. So what's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So just because you write your name using the Roman alphabet and you write it in a different order doesn't change the fact that it is your name and it's still beautiful. So this week anyways is our week number 2. And what we're going to do this week is we're going to work on interview questions, because for this semester basically that will be one of your main focuses. So what I wanted to do first is, because you are online, I'm going to leave this to you. But let's take a look through each of these words, and by the end of this lesson you should be very comfortable with these words if you are not already. So let's look at the vocabulary. First we have name. So traditionally a name means your full name, which is your given name and your family name. Your last name is your family name, and your given name is the name that was given to you by your, perhaps by your mom, or your dad, or maybe your grandparents, or perhaps someone asked a fortune teller to choose a name for you. So last name and family name are the same. And given, so is surname. All three of those words are interchangeable. And in English, the first name and the given name are the same, which of course is the same in English, because we're focusing on English. We're going to be using those words the same as what we would be using them in English. We have Korean style, which for what we're talking about dealing with names, Korean style, we tend to put the family name first. And for a lot of Western culture, a lot of Wegukin find it kind of unusual. They don't understand it, putting your family name first. But once you explain it to them, they're perfectly fine with it. It just takes a little bit of thinking about it. English style names are the reverse, which I think also is pretty usual. Of course, Korean style is also written in Korean, and English style is written using the Roman alphabet. Moving on, tag questions are when we make a statement and then we ask a question to check if it is true or not. And a title. We're going to talk about titles in this case. For this week, we're going to talk about titles regarding names. So these are, polite forms that we add to names to show respect for people who have worked hard to become part of a specific position, or that they have a very rare position in the world, perhaps. Interview, you should also be comfortable with that word. If you're not, remember you can check it out, no problem. We can use interview as a verb or a noun. So to interview someone is to ask questions of them, find out information, and that will be your job this semester. Also, we can use it as a noun to describe one interview that you have had, or a variety of interviews that you have had. Steps are, it can be literally putting one foot in front of the other, but in this case we're going to be using it in a figurative sense, which means we're going to be going, moving from one point to the next, to the next, to the next, sort of like instructions. The next thing we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about closed questions, which are questions that start with verbs, and you can only answer yes or no. So that is why they are closed questions. You only have maybe 3 answers you can give. And open questions, of course, are open because there are many, 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 many answers you can give to the question. And a statement is basically anything that is a sentence which ends with a jum. So let's move on. What I'd like to do is we're going to move through the PowerPoint, and I'll take you step by step through it to make sure that everyone is comfortable and together. I've added the slide numbers to make certain that everyone can follow along if you wish to. Anyways, we're going to take a look first at slide number 2. So slide number 2 is just an explanation of how I mark you if we use online classes. So please read this with me. The first thing you need to do is you need to watch the video at the same time as the PowerPoint, because I work between the two. I explain and as we go through the PowerPoint and our textbook as well. You've got 6 days to watch the video and to complete the homework and submit the homework. Okay, so please be careful. Just watching the video by itself is not enough. You need to watch the video and submit the homework. If you do those two things, it means you have attended class. Also, you know, because we don't know what may happen, hopefully you'll all be okay. But if something happens and you need to submit the homework late, you can submit the homework late for up to 1 week, but it is considered late. So it would be the same as if you came late to class, is the way I mark it. After that 1 week extra, so because you have basically, 13 days to watch a 50-minute video, complete the assignment, and submit it, you are absent. You cannot make up you can't, you know, at the end of the semester try and watch this class and submit the homework. I will not accept it. I think for 13 days is enough to watch a 50-minute video and submit some homework. All right, moving on to slide number 3. If something happens and you cannot watch the video and you can't do it within 2 weeks or 13 days, please let me know. You know, email me the document if you have to go to hospital, or if, for example, you get corona, you can screenshot the PCR positive test and send it to me. Please make sure that if you do give me a document, that it has your name, it has the date, and include your student number, please, because sometimes I have popular names for students, so I have maybe 2 or 3 students, or sometimes 5 students with the same name. So please remember to always give me your student number with your name. Okay, moving on now to slide number 4. So now we're getting into the textbook topics. So names, of course, are very important, whether we're talking about them in Korea or any country of the world. But one of the differences, perhaps, now that you're at university level, is that especially in Western cultures, you should introduce yourself first. It's a very good habit to get into. Anyways, so my starting question for this topic is, do names change? So does your name change Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? No, it doesn't. So what this means is that they're normal, they're usual, they're everyday items, routine. So what tense should we use when we talk about names? Essentially, we want to be focused on 현재 시제, right now. Moving on to slide number 5. What I want to do first is, for those who already know this is a reminder, so you can just make sure that you are clear about the meaning. And for those who aren't sure, please check again. English style names basically are opposite to Korean. We use English letters, and we reverse the order of the names. So, do you recognize him? I wasn't sure if you would or not, but if we move to slide number 6, you'll see that his real name, so his true name in Korean, is Kim Tae-hyun. So in English, what we do is we take his family name, which in Korean comes first, and we put it last. So in English, we would write his name as Tae-hyun Kim. So what did you notice changed? So as I already said, in Korean, the family name is first, and in English, the family name is last. So this is why in English, often this is called the last name, or it could be called the surname. You will see all 3 descriptions on documents. Sometimes you'll see family name, but more often you see last name or surname on any document that's in English. So please remember that they are interchangeable. They mean the same thing. Moving on to slide number 7. In English, so we're still moving on the same, this is the same singer. His name is Taehyung Kim. His given name is Taehyung, and his family name is Kim. So this is much clearer and much better than us using his first name or last name, which is more common in English. But when we're teaching elementary school students, these words are much better because we can use them in Korean or in English. You know, if we're talking about Korean style names, the given name is the same as if we talk about in English the given name. So this is a clearer vocabulary use. So also, of course, he's known as V or V. So in this case, we would say that his stage name is V, because in the entertainment business, this is his, you know, the name that he's become famous under. Once again, don't forget, please, notice here that the given name and first name is the same. So my given name is Sally, my first name is Sally, in English. My family name is the same as my last name, is the same as my surname. These are interchangeable. So I can say my family name is Arkley, I can say my last name is Arkley, and I can say my surname is Arkley. Same, same, same. All right, moving on to slide number 8. What are their names? So what I'd like you to do is, first of all, we're going to start up in the top left. Okay, so hopefully you recognize this British actor. Probably lately he's most famous for being Doctor Strange, I would say. So what is his name? And in the picture he's maybe fixing his cuff, he's fixing his watch or something like that. So hopefully you got it. His name is Benedict Cumberbatch. And notice also that we're using Daemunja for the first letter of each part of his name. So what is his given name? I'm hoping you got it. His given name is Benedict, because in English the first name is the given name. So our second one is going to be this beautiful girl in the middle at the bottom. And who is this beautiful girl? Well, her real name, which we know, is Ijin in Korean, so we're going to move her family name to the end. So in English it's Ji-in-E or Jin-Lee maybe, sometimes people prefer Lee. And her stage name, of course, is IU. So again, remember to use big letters for names. So it should be capital J, capital E, or L, depending on her family name, for G and E. And of course, IU is her name, so again, both should be capital letters, unless it's stylized differently by the actor or actress. And then, of course, this amazing soccer player. What is his name in English style? Well, if you clicked on it, we got it as well. So his name is Heung-min Son. And traditionally, when if you look at the back of the jerseys, it's the family name that tends to go on the back, because that's, you know, your whole family line is represented by your family name, which is also why we put it first in Korean. What about this gentleman, if you look down in the bottom left picture? Now, this is a bit unusual. I'm not sure if you recognize Bruno Mars or not, but Bruno Mars is actually his stage name. It's not his real name. So his real name actually is Peter Hernandez. So you can see maybe Bruno Mars is a little easier to say. And hopefully you've also heard of his, another musician that works with Bruno Mars a lot called Anderson .Paak, who has Korean heritage and is a fantastic, fantastic drummer, singer, musician. So if you get a chance, do look up Anderson .Paak. He's amazing. And then, of course, our next step is this beautiful lady in the top right corner. Her name, what's her name? Do you recognize her? I'm hoping you do. Her name is Rachel McAdams. So once again, we can see we have a big R for Rachel and a big M for McAdams, so that her given name and her family both use capital letters. And our final, this lovely guy in the middle, at the top is Hae In-jung. This is how he spells his name. Jung, of course, you can spell in two ways. But again, we need to have a capital H, capital I, capital J to show his names. His Instagram is Holy Hayen, which I thought was very cute. And he doesn't use Daemunja for that, so neither do we. All right, moving on now to titles. So we're moving on to slide number 9 now. And I'm just going to check to make sure that my camera is still running, and it is. Excellent. So if you look at slide number 9, we look here at titles. So what we're going to do is just to discuss this very, very quickly, why we use titles. Because we use titles in Korean and in English, in every language, but of course we use them a little bit differently depending on the language. So why do we use titles? Well, titles show respect. So I think for Korean, words like, momonim, so like sansaeng-nim, these are words for us to be polite and be respectful to other people. So the examples of titles that we use in English, I think you'll be familiar with them. If we take a look here, we've got Mr. Mr is for any male, so any boy, any guy. And we get the short form from the first big M and the last R. And because we shortened it to just the 2 letters, we put a period at the end, a jum. So we need the jum at the end to show it's a shortened word. So we've got Mr., and then if we move across to the right, we can see doctor. So of course, again, we have the same principle. The first letter is D, the last letter is R. We take the 2 and we put a jum, and that means doctor. Because titles are respectful, the first letter should be Daemunja. Then we've got Mrs. So the old form of Mrs., that's how it's pronounced as Mrs., it comes from the word mistress. So in the case of mistress, which means married woman, we take the first letter, M, which is a big M. We take the middle letter R and the end letter S. And then because we shorten it again, we put a period to show it has been shortened. Moving on, we get president, of course, because this is a high position, and we need to recognize people if they've worked hard and gotten to the top of a company or a country, even if you don't necessarily like them. And moving to the next one, so president usually is shortened to capital P-R-E-S, jum, but president is not a particularly long word. The next one is Ms., and Ms. is used for polite situations. For example, when you go to the airport or if you go to a doctor and they don't know you very well, what they do is they use this form because they don't know if a woman is married or unmarried. So Ms. is only used for women, and it's with a hard Z sound, Ms. Queen, of course, there are very few queens in the world, and I don't know if you heard recently, but Queen Elizabeth II has a blue hand, and people are worried. They're not sure if it's a bruise or if it means her health is a little bit bad or something like that. But Queen it's a very unusual title these days, so of course we should use it because this is, very rare. And then if we look at the bottom 2, we have Miss, which means a single woman, a woman who is not married. And we have Professor, of course, like Professor Dumbledore off of, or your professors at university as well. So usually we use these titles to be respectful, and we use them with the family name if you want it to be short, or you can use them with the full name. So for example, we can say Mr. Kim, or you could say Ms. Kim and Ms. Yuna Kim, something like that, Yuna. We've got President Yoon, Queen Elizabeth II, Doctor Strange. So if we look at Doctor Strange, for example, because I love comics, what is Strange? Is it his given name or his family name? And hopefully you got that it is his family name. So we're going to keep going. So what I'd like to do next is to go into the textbook, and I would like you to answer some questions. So this is the first piece of homework. All right, now in the textbook, actually, I have this third, so I think perhaps I made a mistake with that. Okay, I'm just going to switch it up. So actually what we're going to do first is we're going to look in the textbook and look at the piece of paper for common and proper nouns. So what I did for this is I got it from a language arts book, which is for, just a minute. I got it from a language arts book. So this is a really good teaching book to use. It uses American curriculum, but the exercises tend to be quite simple, and they're very useful for elementary school students. And in particular, so what we're working on for this one is grade 4. I've used a variety of textbooks to try to help you to understand some of the theories and principles that we do teach to elementary school students, number 1, and number 2, things that perhaps we should be teaching as well. So let's read the page. We'll read the page together, and then what I'd like you to do is I would like you to fill in the blanks and submit this as your first piece of homework. So let's read together. Chapter 1, Lesson 1.1, Common and Proper Nouns. So common nouns they name people, places, things, and ideas. So we've got some examples here. People like teacher, lawyer, baby, uncle, artist, girl, teenager, athlete. And notice here that there are no demunjas. There's no capital letters used, okay? So this is a common noun. Places like school, museum, library, kitchen, store, park. Things like a walnut, daffodil, a possum as an animal, fence, radio, or a cottage perhaps. And ideas like bravery or fear, happiness, attitude, enthusiasm. So these are common nouns, so we don't use capital letters with these. Proper nouns, however, name specific people, places, and things. So proper nouns are capitalized. They do use big letters. So for example, if we look here, we can see people like Mandy Lopez, or for those people that we just spoke about, Alex, perhaps a friend, your friend's name, Aunt Kathleen, Mr. Reichman. Places, if you're talking about a specific place like Argentina, country names, or Windgate Elementary School, a school name, Philadelphia Zoo, place names, and things like the Timber County Fair, or Chuseok, okay, holidays are another good example. All of these things should be capitalized. The tip that we should also read, so let's read it together, 1, 2, 3, go. Some nouns are made up of more than a single word. For example, life jacket, polar bear, University of Iowa, Museum of Science and Technology. All right, we're moving now to your homework. So complete it. Fill in the blanks in the chart below with the missing common or proper nouns. Now, I'm going to give you specific options for this. Okay, so please listen and fill in the blanks accordingly. So for common nouns, we're going to go down the chart. So the first one is teacher. What is the opposite of teacher? That will be your first one. Then we've got singer, father, and father's opposite. Okay, and then we've got team at the bottom. So tell me one sport you like. And that will be our last spot for the common nouns. And then if we look on the right side, for example, we've got George Washington at the top. So these are our proper nouns. So in this case, we do need to use capital letters. So in the first space, what I'd like you to do is write your name English style. And then we have Duke University. And then on the next line, I'd like you to write our school name, please. If you want to, you can use the short form. So you just use the first letter of each of the main words in our university title. And then I would like you to give me your, let's say, your favorite singer's name above Bixby Memorial Library. And of course you'll be using English style to write their name. Then we've got Mississippi. And then at the bottom I would like you to give the city that you live in now. Okay, so this means when you're at school. All right, next we're going to move on to the capitalization page. So we're still in the textbook, and we're going to read through it together. So this is a review. Capitalize the names of specific people and pets. My sister Nikki, capital N Nikki, wrote a story about a pet monkey named capital S Squizzle. Capitalize titles that come before a name. Capital A Aunt Lynn, capital S Senator Rivera, capital M Mrs. Wasserbauer, capital D Dr. Oakley. Do not capitalize titles that are used alone, unless they're used as a name. For example, my dad plays basketball, so it's just Kenya, but I asked Dad, using it like a name, to close the windows, then we will use a capital letter. Capitalize the names of specific places, hospital names, or city and state names, or any names for cities, countries, provinces, anything like that. And school names and the days of the week and months of the year as well always begin with a capital letter. So we've got Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, all Demunja, and April, June, October, December, Demunja at the start. The names of holidays are also capitalized. So for the USA, President's Day, Independence Day, and Mother's Day. The titles of books, movies, and songs are also capitalized, so please be careful. You do not need to capitalize prepositions, which are position words like in, on, under, beside. Articles, the, or conjunctions like and but, unless they're the first word or the last word in a title. If they're first and last, they're always capitalized. So we can see here, Barbara Park wrote The Kid in the Red Jacket. Putting it together, complete each sentence below for homework with the words that are in the brackets, in parentheses. Some of these words will need to be capitalized and others will not. Okay, so there's your second piece of homework. Pretty easy, I think. I'm hoping this won't be too hard on you, but you'll be fine. Next, so we're moving on now to slide number 12 in our PowerPoint. So slide number 12 is about the names. So what I'd like you to do is answer these questions using capital letters, don't forget, and full sentences. So I do not need the questions, I only need the answers. So number 1, what is your Korean style name? So remember, you should be giving it in English. Korean style name, you should be giving it Korean. So you should be giving your family name first. And you can write it in Korean, of course. Number 2, what's your given name? Then this should be written in English. Number 3, what's your family name? This should be written in English with capital letters. And what's your title and English style name? So we're putting it all together, and we're going to be putting Mr. or Miss or Mrs. perhaps, and then your full name, given name, family name, using capital letters. Number 5, who is your favorite singer? So in this case, you can give the same singer as you did before. Or if you want to choose a band instead, that would be fine too. You could just change the wording and say, my favorite band is Momo, my favorite girl band, my favorite boy band, something like that. All right, another piece of homework is to make a name tag. So if you take a look at slide 13, some of you are already familiar with this, but this helps me to learn your names and to learn a little bit about you in a very simple way. So what I'd like you to do is get a piece of paper. I would like you to get An A4 piece of paper would be ideal. If it has something on the back, there's no problem. We're going to be using the front. And what you need to do is fold it twice. So there's one fold, and then the second fold. So we end up with a triangle shape, basically. And then, so you have three, it should look like you have three separate chunks of the paper. What I'd like you to do is on the center piece, write your name in English style. So this means, for example, if my name is, let me just have a look and see who my first one is. So if I'm Dan Gang, what you're going to do is you can get colors, you can get markers, or whatever you want. And then you're going to write your name. And what I'd like you to do ideally is to make sure, oh, I've run out of room. Okay, so mine didn't work out. I'm going to do it, I started writing with bubble letters, so I'm just going to write normal letters. Da, and, gang. Now, there are a couple points I'd like to make, though, is if we take a look, so remember that we're going to be moving the family name to the end, and we're using Demunja for each name. So if you have, two names, you would have 2 capital letters. If you have 4 names, you have 4 capital letters. If you move to slide 14, I'd like you to notice a couple of extra points. So the first point is that you should use dark colors. Light colors like yellow I can't see very well, and especially from far away. Number 2 is to use letters that are big so I can see them easily. And number 3, I'd like you to draw 2 pictures to show what you like to do or what hobbies you like. So I probably maybe do Spider-Man and SpongeBob, or I don't know, I have lots of hobbies, lots of things I like to do. Anyways, use 3 colors or more. This is fun. This is something for an easy way for me to remember who you are. And please bring this with you to class. So next time when you come on the 19th, then I will ask to see these and check to make sure everyone has done their homework. Moving on now to slide number 15. What I would also like you to do is on the back. So if, for example, you have a piece of paper like mine which has something on the back, you can just use one of the folds. But what I'd like you to do is write down these 4 points. Number 1, how do you spell that? Okay. Number 2, how do you say that? Number 3, may I go to the toilet? And number 4, we actually have 4 choices. So you can choose your style. If you want to, you can write down all if you wish to. But the simplest, I think, would be what? I'm going to write pardon me, because that would probably be my most common. So on the back of your name tag, there's my name tag. On the back of my name tag, I'm going to have these written down so I can use them in class if I forget. Because I do expect you to use English for things like this. This is also something to consider when you're teaching elementary school students, because I think a lot of students have a hard time using sentences like this, but they're very, very common. So these are definitely words we should be teaching, sentences we should be teaching. All right, moving on now. We're going to move through the next steps fairly quickly, so please listen carefully. We're moving now to slide 16, which is interviews and 3 question types. On slide number 17, we can see the 4 steps to interviewing. Please write these down. Interview steps are number 1. First, you should introduce yourself English style when you meet new people. If English is the core language. Okay, of course, if we're in Korea and you're speaking to Koreans, you would use Korean. But when we're in perhaps other countries or you have foreigners visiting, this is what we should be doing. You introduce yourself English style. Number 2, you decide what questions you want to use, because we need specific answers. So the answers we're looking for will change the questions that we use. Number 3, we need to listen to the answers, okay? Even when we're practicing in class. I've noticed that a lot of students ask questions and then stop, and they just start looking around. But the purpose is generating conversation. Number 4 is react. This is not an RPG. It's not shoot somebody with a question and then kill them and the conversation is over. This is supposed to be communication. Moving to slide number 18, we're going to take a look at 3 question types. So there are closed questions, open questions, and tag questions. What are they? Well, if we look at slide 19, the first and most important point is questions actually make the best conversation. So if you have good questions to ask people, you will have a good interview. Knowledge is power. So if we ask questions, we gain knowledge, which makes you, a more knowledgeable person, a more powerful person. So we're taking a look here. So questions that we use to interview. In this case, we've got closed questions, which start with a verb and a pronoun. For example, do you? Probably the most common one. Your answers in this case are closed because we only have 3 choices. You can say, I do, yes, I don't, no, or I don't know. The second type of question that we look at is W questions, which are called open questions. So these are who, what, where, when, why, and how, and variations thereof. So usually we get W verb pronoun. So what do you, or where do you, or how do you, or what do you, when do you, who do you. But the point being is that actually all we need to change for these types of questions is the W at the beginning. In this case, we cannot answer yes or no. If you answer yes or no, you sound crazy. So please, please, please be careful. You can answer pretty much anything except for yes or no. Consider, if I say, how are you today? I imagine most of you said fine, thank you, and you, but we can't answer yes. Or if I say, what time is it? No. It doesn't match, and it makes people very uncomfortable when people answer incorrectly. Let's take a look now at slide 20. Slide 20 is the next step in an interview, which is the end step, to react. When your partner responds to your question, so we've got at least 4 steps, right? I talk, my partner talks, I ask a question, my partner responds. Or my partner answers the question, I react to them, okay? So this could be something, you can ask a question about their answer, or we can comment on what they have said, like, say, oh wow, really? Ooh, interesting, that's cool. Because this makes conversation more interesting and more accessible for both people. If we move on to slide 21, we're going to talk about direct questions, okay? So direct questions are when we ask someone, simply, straightforward. So if we ask a closed question, the verb comes first. For example, is he Chen Young Pak? Then we answer yes, no, or I don't know. And even better is to use the grammar. So if you want to use a short form, we would say, is he? We answer, he is, he isn't, or I don't know. Always fine. If we look at open questions, then we talk about the W plus the verb plus the pronoun. But of course we can't answer yes or no because it sounds really strange. So for example, we say, who is he? Okay, then our answers, lots and lots of choices. If we move to slide 22, indirect questions are gentle questions. These are polite, and these are usually open questions that we're trying to be extra nice with. So basically what we do is we add to the start of the question to make it gentle, and we change the order of the verb pronoun. So for example, we can add, could you tell me? Or, do you know, at the beginning of the question. In this case, though, we do need to switch the verb pronoun, so it's like a sentence structure, because we have already started with the question. So for example, if we just asked a direct question, we would say, what is your name? Okay. But in this case, if we add the indirect start, could you tell me, we make it very polite, very gentle, then notice what happens to the verb. The verb moves to the end of the question. Could you tell me what your name is? Okay, so please be careful. And notice that we didn't start with, do you know what your name is? Because that sounds weird. Of course you know what your name is. So do you know means, is the knowledge in your head? So be careful that it matches your question. Moving to slide 23. Slide 23 is tag questions. So these are when we think it's true, but we're not 100% sure. So we want to check. So for example, we make a statement like, I say, he is nice, and then I want to check. So I add the same verb, we're using the same verb, and we put a negative with it, isn't he? And this makes it into a question. So he's nice, isn't he? But be careful, because remember that English is a little bit hard because we often drop the verb does. So if we take a look here, that girl really likes strawberries. What's the verb that's here? Actually, we're missing the verb does. It's been dropped. So that girl really does like strawberries, doesn't she? Is the way it would be written if we wrote it fully. Anyways, let's take a look. If we take a look at slide 24, what I'd like you to do is to practice slide 24 with a partner. So just give your partner a shout, or if you're watching this with somebody beside you right now, what you can do is do it with you right now. Hello, is your name Jisoo Kim? And your partner says, it is, I'm Jisoo Kim. Or, no, it's, and they tell you their correct name. Number 2, hi, you are, and you give their real name. You're Jisoo Kim, aren't you? And then they answer, yes I am. What's your name? So this is our starters. Number 3, hiya, what's your given name? And then my given name is Sally. My given name is Jisoo. So this is practice to make sure you're clear about given names. And number 4, aloha, could you tell me your name please? Sure, my name is, and you give your full name. Moving now to slide 25. So slide 25 is also for your homework. Slide 25 is, hang on a second, let me just make sure I've got this right. Yeah, here, try. This is from your textbook. So if you take a look in your textbook, what I'd like you to do is to try yourself and make sure you're clear with this. So give an example of a closed question. So remember, it starts with a verb. Please do not use do you like me, because that's a really unusual question, and in English usually, you know, people, like, I like all my students, so it's an unusual question to ask. But you can ask pretty much anything you want. Anyways, number 2, give an example of an open question. So an open question begins with a W or an H. You can ask anything you want again. Number 3, give an example of a statement that is just a sentence. So anything you want. And number 4, maybe you need to be a little bit careful. So you can work with a partner if you want to, and fill in the blanks here, and then submit the answers for homework, please. Next, also, I would like you as well to do the textbook quiz. So this is slide 26, and in your textbook, this is our quiz 1. So what I'd like you to do is match up the numbers with the letters and submit them to me. So you need to figure out, hello, is your name Jisoo Kim? And how are we going to answer these so they all match up? Slide 27, I would like you to do this quiz as well. So this is our textbook quiz number 2, which is to match the numbers and the letters again. Just to make sure that you're clear when I use this language, for example, statement, tag question, indirect question, or direct question, that you are comfortable and familiar with what those words mean. Next, in the textbook, what I would like you to do is to call a partner. And practice the 4 dialogues that we've done with your partner. And then the communication task. Give me 1 minute, I'm sorry, I'm just making sure that this is matching up. So the 4 dialogues. Okay, we're going to stop it there. You do not need to do the textbook conversation, the communication task. So we'll stop it there. Textbook conversation practice, we won't do it. And the homework assignments. Okay, so the homework assignments we will do. What I would like to do is explain very briefly what I expect from your homework assignments to make sure that it's clear for you. And of course, if you have any questions or you need any help, don't be shy. You can email me or call me, and I'll be in my office Tuesday after 1. I should be here. So your homework assignments, when you submit them, please make sure, number 1, that you use WordPerfect or HANCOM. Number 2, don't submit pictures. I will not accept pictures. And I don't want zip files because it takes me a lot longer to open them. And it's also, it makes it hard on my computer because my computer is a little bit old. Number 3, the font. So the font style is Times New Roman, which you can use on WordPerfect or HANCOM. And you go up to the top of the screen, and underneath you should be able to see 2 boxes, and inside you can just type Times New Roman, and your font size should be 12 point. Number 4, please remember to write your English style name, student number, name and student number, and the week number as the file name. And then also do that on the homework paper itself, okay? So just to be clear, so the file name should be your name, week number, student number, and then actually week number, name, student number would be better. And then also to do the same on the homework paper, so when I open it up, I see your name and student number again, please. Moving on to slide number 29. So I'm just going to give you a homework recap here, just to make sure that you're clear about what you need to do. And again, you know, if you have any answers or you're not sure, or any questions, I should say, do write and ask. Number 1, please look at slide number 10. There are names there, and you should, names is the heading, and there are 5 answers that you should write. Number 2, in the textbook, the common and proper nouns, you should give the 3 common nouns and the 4 proper nouns, okay? So I don't need a picture of the paper, I just need you to write the 3 common nouns and the 4 proper nouns. Number 3, in the textbook, I would like you to go through capitalizing names and titles. There are 6 answers there. And number 4, so you can just give me the answers, the sentence forms. Number 4 is from slide 25, which is when we were talking about interviews, and it's titled You Try. And there I expect you to give me 4 answers. And number 5, the fifth piece of homework, these are all very simple, very, very easy. It's only 2 or 3 things per section, or maybe, 4 or 5. Slides 26 and 27, quiz is number 1, and number 2, the answers. So you just give the number, the letter, the number, the letter, and so on. That is all. So we're coming to the end now. For your submissions, once more, I want to remind you, please remember that you need to, number 1, watch the video, and number 2, submit the week 2 homework by Monday, September 19th at 12 a.m. So this is you have all day Monday to finish it if you need to. So Tuesday morning basically is when the cutoff point is. If you do that, you watch the video and you submit the homework, complete homework, then it means you attended class. If something happens and you want to submit the homework late, that's also okay. You have until September 26th at 12 a.m. to be late. After that point, you will be absent. So please, please be careful. And I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and that you, if you do have any questions or you need any help, please get in touch. Goodbye. Have a good day.